Hi, everybody. Thank you once again for joining us here at WCCA-TV in Worcester for our Tech Safe show. As ever, we're grateful to our producer, Adam Rice, and even more so to our special guest today, Mauro DePasquale, who is the station manager here at WCCA and has given me this fabulous opportunity to bring information to the public every 2 weeks on tech safety and what that means. Mauro is up against what a lot of cable companies or cable stations are up against today, and that is budget restraints. For me, I have found our local cable stations to be the last vestige of independent reporting out here. And I would love to share with our audience, how did cable stations even come to be?
So when you say cable stations, you're talking about public access, community media.
Okay.
So there's a difference there because we're nonprofit, number one. Number two, we're not based on the same values that commercial TV is. The purpose of commercial television is to bring eyeballs to the screen so they can sell you soap and sell you all kinds of stuff.
That's the commerce part of commercial, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah. And so with public access, it's about individual interest. What do you, Cece, want to do on this side of the screen? You know, what's your message? What's your story? What do you want to share? Your talent, your story, whatever it might be, your point of view, your opinion. This is for you. And it doesn't matter out there if one eyeball checks it out. Well, two, maybe. You know? It doesn't matter who's watching. It matters what you need to empower yourself to feel that you can help others.
Right.
So we're not selling stories that people want to hear that are necessarily fun, and although we do, but we're going to tell you the truth. You're going to hear it. It's not going to be. Here's what Cece told me, and then I'm going to put my spin on it. It's going to be Cece saying exactly what she knows, and to explain it and to bring others forward as well.
Yeah, and I've been so grateful for that opportunity. We're here at episode 52. I have had world-leading scientists, doctors, and far too many people who have been injured by today's wireless technology. So a number of months ago, you asked if I would attend a municipal meeting about wireless. And so I did, and I went and I listened, and I was so excited to learn that they were bringing fiber optics to the premises. That's going to be a screaming fast signal that doesn't bring a whole lot of man-made radiation into the home.
Right.
But then for competition reasons, they're also allowing these 5G small cells in at the curb, literally in our public access way, right outside of people's homes.
Right. They're doing it like crazy in Worcester right now, too.
And
no one knows about it, except to see traffic build up because there's all these Verizon trucks now digging holes in the streets. So, and then you get, when I mention that at city meetings, then later on you hear comments and people, gossiping behind your back, and they're saying stuff like,
industry got so far ahead of us on this that now anytime you open your mouth and go, I think there's something up with wireless and biological health effects, we've all been conditioned to go, oh, tinfoil hat conspiracy theorists, we don't have to listen to that. So that's the messaging that industry has given, and that's why I'm so honored to give a free public education webinar every month on Zoom, so anybody from their living room can join us to learn the science, to learn the health risks, what the doctors are advising we do, and how to recognize those symptoms, because so many people aren't sleeping right. They've got headaches or nosebleeds or nausea or dizziness or anxiety or depression, let alone cancers, infertility. All this is proven in the scientific literature from this man-made radio frequency microwave radiation that everything wireless pulses, not just the big cell towers, but these 5G small cells, the utility smart meters that National Grid put on the homes here in Worcester, and then all of our personal devices.
Right.
So
and it really is, it's funny because when you go to meetings and you bring this stuff up, and like you say, people think, oh, conspiracy. Yet I know firsthand when I did investigations on rooftops for radio installations, that you're told you got to get off that. You can't stay on that roof too long. And why?
Because of the radiation.
because of the radiation that's up there. That's
Yeah.
right, and it's close. I mean, we're buildings away right now from
Yeah,
it.
those overexposures
Yeah.
can cause a significant health decline immediately. Same thing when those smart meters go on our homes. A lot of people get really sick. They have no idea what's taken their health down. Their doctors haven't yet been trained. Fortunately, we have the EMF, or Electromagnetic Fields Medical Conference, is now available online at no cost. Anybody can look at those.
Do you have that link? You should.
Yeah, if you go to Massachusetts for Safe Technology and go to my resources page, among the first bullets, you will find the EMF Medical Conference. And you can look and see, you know, neurologists, cardiologists, scientists from all over the world. You can slot a half hour into your calendar, an hour here, you know,
Yeah, see it at your own pace.
and learn from world-leading experts at no cost. And
Right.
I was honored to be brought in to help organize that conference, but also to speak on state and local policy, because we've had bills for 10 years, Mauro, that we've gotten out of committee, but then they just die.
Yeah.
In New
So
Hampshire.
don't make them their way across.
Yeah. In New Hampshire, we passed the first law in the country to investigate this, and they spent a year, even during the pandemic, to investigate. And they came up with 15 recommendations. We need to get away from wireless for primary connectivity because it's toxic, and start moving back to what we know is better tech through a cable. All you got to
Right.
do is plug your Ethernet cables back in, get the adapters, and plug it all in, then go into your settings and turn off the antennas. And
The
it's,
industry is really good at brainwashing people. They're really great at getting people to not believe the truth. They're excellent at that, and they've gotten better and better over the years. We need to look also, how much money is the internet industry putting into medical? because
None.
they're easy.
Yeah.
You know, I'm getting tremors, and I think it's from Wi-Fi, really. And they'll give me something to mask that.
Right.
They'll stop it as
But
long
if
as I
you don't
pay
remove
$300 every 3 months or whatever.
Mauro.
But you know, why?
Yeah.
It's about money.
It's the convenience, too.
Yeah,
We've all
yeah.
been sold on the convenience. But
Yeah.
what I was fascinated to learn is that our cable stations wouldn't even exist if it weren't for the industry.
Right.
So
right.
tell us
That's
how
what
this
spurred
came
it.
to be.
Yeah, well, when cable industry was being developed, and you know, in primarily in New York and in places in the west part of the country, when cable started laying out wires, the companies were just laying out wires, and it was basically a connector into antenna. Instead of an antenna, we're going to bring it directly to your house. It kind of caught on. So when they saw that, there were a group of people that wanted to have access that couldn't get access to those channels. They lobbied, particularly in New York. And they were able to get, in exchange of rights of way, the cable industry were to provide something to benefit the community.
So we let
So-
them dig up our public lands.
Right,
Our,
right.
You know, like
And
outside
today,
on the
it's lands and
sidewalk.
airspace.
Yeah.
Right? And
So we gave them access to the
Right.
public right
right,
of
in
way.
Worcester, they're getting access, and they're, reaping at least $42 million. I mean, it changes over the years depending on subscriptions, but $42 million a year profit. And they get a 10-year contract for that. So you're talking billions of dollars over a period of time that they're making for tax-free,
Access to our homes,
to basically the
basically.
homes.
Yeah.
Right in your backyard.
Yeah.
I once tried to kick a cable guy out of my yard, but I had no authority to do that because of the ordinances in the city. So it developed to give people an opportunity to participate in that media. And it's a place where the franchised and the disenfranchised, more importantly, have an opportunity. Let's face it, if you're the city manager or the mayor, or if you're the president of the Chamber of Commerce or some big box corporation, it's easy for you to get media attention. They do it all the time.
Right.
And they disguise it with comedians on Saturday Night Live and whatnot. So right now, but it's not easy for you to get on. So the whole purpose of this was to provide a platform that is free from corporate retribution. It's free speech, first of all, let me say that.
Yeah.
And nowhere else is as uniquely free speech as public access television right now.
Right.
Because you go on Facebook and you'll say, "Oh, I can say what I." No, you can't. You get
Well-
censored immediately. They'll take your story away.
Yeah.
But this is to be a place that's free from corporate retribution and political whim. It shouldn't be The city, actually, when you look at it, the city even shouldn't be the person's determining what the relationship is with the cable company. It really should be the public access.
Right.
Because we're the ones that represent all the people. We're giving the scope of our business is the entire city. Unlike the education channel and the government channel, they're covering meetings, and that's great. That's,
Right.
it gives you access to the meetings. The school is serving the school needs. Public access is serving everyone else's needs, including schools and colleges and municipal entities, but it's also serving TechSafe. It's serving the religious. It's serving arts and culture, health and wellness organizations.
And I love that you guys train up kids in the community
And
to give them a skill set to be able to run a cable program.
Right, yeah, they can do their own program. They don't have to come to me and say, I want to do a show about this. No, it's, I want to do a show. My reaction is, how can we help you?
Yeah, yeah.
But unfortunately, with cable cutting, their subscriptions have been dropping, and through legal loopholes, they're getting around having to pay in exchange of rights of way. Or it's either loopholes, or some towns and some governments just really aren't knowledgeable about it. They're listening to the wrong people.
Right, and well, that's it. Industry always has that loud voice at the table and deep pockets. So.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And so many of our municipal leaders don't, as you say, really understand how these industries work. They just know that they get money, and they also know, like with, say, for example, cell tower applications, if you say, well, no, we don't want to allow a cell tower here, the industry threatens to sue.
Right.
And these well-intended public servants have no idea that they actually have rights that they could put in their zoning code to protect residential areas and schools.
Because some of them are not even educated when they enter into office. They give a little workshop, but they're not telling them what their rights are.
Right.
It's all keeping, that's the birth of the name of the word deep state. It's meant to keep people in place.
Yeah.
But it's important that this free speech exists, and it's not being paid. Some people say, oh, Mario, what do you want, the city to cover you? Well, no, the city's subsidizing the government channel. The city subsidizes the education channel. They're providing their building and their spaces, heat and electric and all the rest of it. But they're not doing that for us. Our money comes directly from the cable profits.
Okay.
It's the gross revenue of the cable provider. All right, now if that cable provider is switching the carrier means from wire to wireless, or coax to fiber. It doesn't matter. It's still delivering the space for the people.
Yeah.
We're a virtual common.
Oh, I like
a
that.
virtual park for people to meet and be together and to share and to talk and to share information and not worry about somebody saying, cut that guy off, or you're not getting my money.
Right.
People say, "Oh, you got to think out of the box." We've tried it all, Cece. I've been doing this for 40 years, and sponsorships, fine. We welcome them. We take grants, programmatic grants. We look at investing whatever money that's not restricted that we can.
Right.
We're a nonprofit, so we got some limitations there, but we've done it all, and I've gone to all these best practices workshops like you do.
Yeah.
In your side of it, and believe me, we've done it all, and it's because this is why you do need to have a congressional law like the Cable Act to ensure that these companies are providing some benefit back to the community,
right,
in the form of public access to empower the community. It's to level that playing field, to give us the same place as big box corporations, same place as government.
Right.
And there's the people's voice. And that's why we say we're the people's channel, TV by, for, and of the people.
Right. So it sounds like first we had cable. That's where the law came in from Congress.
That was called broadband then.
Broadband, okay. I think it's all still kind of under the broadband thing, but it's taken shape.
Right.
So
it's what they're delivering over. It's how they're defining.
So now, because technology has gone in many directions, you can have cable, high-speed cable.
Right.
You can have fiber optics. You can have 5G and the Internet of Things, which is these mobile antennas that are being mounted too close to where we are.
Right.
So are you saying that if you follow the dollar, the dollar only runs along that cable line. You're not getting subsidies for subscriptions through fiber
We're not
optics.
getting, we're not
5G?
getting money for like Netflix to be able to go through those screens. We're not getting subsidized for anything that's not cable, doesn't go through a cable box now.
Okay.
They've gotten it down to, which is not.
And now the
it's
satellite
not just.
boxes are coming in.
Right,
Starlink and
right. Oh yeah, it's all the same.
yeah.
I mean, when they sold cable, it was the big sale was you'd be able to get movies and not commercials, And then it became, well, you can get movies if you buy this premium membership, and then we'll do away
They're
with this.
always
It's
upcharging.
always, it's a big smoke screen. It's the same thing. It's just the technology changes, but the content is all the same. And people still need to have that visibility, that presence
Right.
in there at an equal level.
Right.
Because you can't, it's kind of like the electoral college, you have that, this,
I'm still trying to sort that one out.
well, it's meant to sort of broaden the voice.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what we are. We're here. We shouldn't be any less.
Right.
And I used to say this years ago, but now it's quite distorted. But one episode of Oprah Winfrey, their budget was more than I had for a whole year to operate a TV station with over 65 producers like you. You're one of those 65. Now it's much, I'm sure Oprah gets a lot more money. Let's put it that way.
Well, speaking of money, talk us through the dollars and cents on this. What is the impact to your operating budget with where we are now? I understand that the 10-year contract was up 2 years ago.
Right.
And then you guys have been in this little interim period before the new contract is signed.
Right.
So
the status of the cable renewal. So it's a franchise renewal. The city set the timeline for it. So it's every 10 years. It has been every 10 years for the last 40 years, as far as I know. Actually, it wasn't even one. But when I started, there wasn't a cable contract. There was just us.
okay.
So it kind of changed and evolved. So right now, our contract expired 2 years ago, the cable contract. And the city manager, as far as I know right now, as of today,
Yeah.
because we're sort of in the dark on this. We have no idea what's going on.
So
behind
you're
it.
not a voice at the table
Oh,
during the contract?
we went to every single cable advisory meeting, but we were told only when we could speak, and we can only provide so much information. Everything else was either left. There were documents left in draft form so that we couldn't get access to it, because once they make it public, once they release it as an approved form, then it's available to the public. Things are not happening that way. You got things that are in draft form. I don't know why, because if you got a good report, which I know they did get good reports, especially good reports on public access, they can leverage that in their negotiations.
Right.
But for some reason, they don't want us all to see it. They think it's going to hurt the negotiations. I don't agree with that. I don't think it's necessary. They're looking at they want to start. Someone's recommended to start a fourth channel, which is not necessarily going to be public access channel, or they're saying it's going to be. But what's the point? We let everyone on now. Why not just help us grow and
Right.
get everybody else that's allegedly missing, if
Yeah.
there's anyone missing.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes that seems to be serving not necessarily the public agenda. Because from what we've seen, we know what the agenda is. The people have overwhelmingly wanted to see WCCA-TV flourish. And I would have expected the city to say, how can we help you do that?
Right.
Because we go to the city and say, how can we help you with this and that, cover this event, show up at an out to lunch concert or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
So it's evolved. I hope I'm answering your question, because I get sidetracked.
Yeah.
But it's evolved to give people a chance. The funding, the city gets its constant funding. Every year, the city gets $477,000 for what it calls INET fees. It also gets a paid cable administration, a legal fee. We used to call it in grant writing admin fees, okay? They get a
for the
15%
overhead.
admin for
Yeah.
overhead. That's constant. No matter what it is, that they're going to get 15% overhead of all of that gross. They're going to get what's left for PEG. They're going to get $477,000
And PEG is?
period. Public, education, and government channels.
Gotcha.
Public being WCCA. The education channel has one for the schools, and then City Hall has the government channel,
Okay.
which they use. So So the city gets its constant, then what's left goes to the PEG channels.
Okay.
And that's going lower, getting lower and lower and lower. So that money gets lower and lower, but the city percentage and the city's INET fees don't. They stay constant.
Okay.
So, for example, the city's getting $477,000 this year. We're getting $507 to run an entire community operation. The city's getting $162,000 this year. We're still just getting that with 507. So the city itself is getting more money than we are for admin and for whatever INET fee is cost. Does that sound? That doesn't sound like, what the intention of the PEG Act was from Congress, to really help the people out. What is it helping? Government get bigger maybe, but it's not helping the people's voices. That's where we are right now. I'm operating with about a third less of the budget. We're going to fight, and we're going to look for every means possible to keep this station going, and we will do it. It'll keep going. I'm certain of that.
Yeah.
But it's going to take more. The community has to step up. The city manager has to step up. The mayor and the city council have to step up, and everyone else has to understand. If you value free speech television, if you value open and participatory media, if you value equity, if you value elevating all members of the community, all being capital letters, then you should value WCCA-TV, and we hope that you do. We hope that you step up, and we invite people out there like you to continue to come down and to make use of the station, because that's what it's here for.
Right, and that's the beauty of it. I was going to give you an example. You talked about how corporate influences often influence the messaging that we get in mainstream media. And I had been brought in as a guest on a television show. And one of the things I like to do is to show people the legal fine print in their phone. Yeah. Because everyone's been sold on all this convenience. But it says right in there, keep this thing away from your body. Yeah. So I gave a talk, and I gave, in about 1 minute, where to find that legal fine print. It's in the settings. You go to general, scroll down to legal and regulatory, hit that, and then you get into RF exposure, radio frequency radiation. And it says right in there, this device was tested at a distance from the body. Right. So don't put it in your shirt or your bra. Don't put it in your waistband. Don't stick it in your back pocket. And they even recommend in there, don't touch a radiating device. Use a hands-free option. So the program that I was on, they clipped that for a 1 minute thing, and they put it out on their Instagram account. We got 760,000 views on that and like 26,000 likes. And then they got deplatformed.
Yeah. See, somebody didn't like that.
Yeah, no. Much, right? So, that's why I am so very grateful to WCCA-TV and all of our cable stations, because you can come on. You can't be a crazy person and do things that are, illegal or,
well, there's some, right. I mean, someone, the only thing that we ever had to step in is, and we actually never had to do this, but the only rule we sort of went by was if somebody stood here in front of a microphone and try to inflict violence on an individual or some other organization. Violence. Yeah. You can't come in here with a gun.
Right. Right.
So I mean, that's really about it. Yeah. Anything that, like you say, that's legal. If you come in here, we had a cooking show and it kicked the alarms on because the smoke came up.
The smoke.
So we had to kind of say, how do we do this? Yeah. But there's nothing holding back free speech. Something like what you do, that's important. We had the same issue with fluoride in the water. People did not want fluoride in the water, but the industry wanted it, and there was no place to debate. We held that debate here, and the people won the vote. They won that vote.
Excellent.
And it comes back, though.
Right.
They want to put,
well, they got to dump those chemicals somewhere,
yeah,
right?
But right now, though, you see people that, it was probably about 20 years ago, where we fought the fluoride. 20 years later, there's people that actually want it. in the water, and I can't see.
Well,
like,
because they're being told that it makes their teeth stronger,
Right,
or
they're getting right. They're much better.
Yeah.
This is what I said at the beginning of your program. The industry is much better at controlling what people see and
yeah,
think.
the messaging. I
Yeah.
have these conversations every day on the wireless issue where everybody thinks it's fine, and a lot of people's jobs are tied to
Yeah.
it in engineering, in medicine, in medical devices. But if we could just come together and actually look at the peer-reviewed science,
Right.
which I have the honor and privilege of presenting on this show, then we could all learn together and maybe choose to be a better society.
Yeah.
But that's you and I, because that's the kind of people
Yeah.
we are. The underbelly of humanity has a dark side, and there are people
Right.
who are in the thick of that. So we
Right.
just get up every day and try to do
Yeah.
what we can do to create a positive outcome,
Yeah.
to try and, enliven and enrich in our communities, which
Yeah.
the cable stations do. They bring people together.
Sure.
And then you
in
bump
all
into them
different
in the
facets.
community, and then you've got something to talk about.
Right,
And,
right,
it
exactly.
ripples out. It's not
Yeah.
just one show here.
I sometimes watch this old show called Beyond Vaudeville,
Mm-hmm.
and it's an old public access from the '70s in New York.
Excellent.
And they were far more liberal with what they did with their programming.
Well, vaudeville was
But-
always a little
yeah,
racy.
Yeah, but what a lot of fun, and
Yeah.
it's so interesting to watch what people thought, what people wore for clothing.
Mm-hmm.
There's so much richness that can come through. I mean, we have thousands of videos still here at the station and also online that we curate.
Right.
And it's amazing to see, how everyone is elevated: musicians, poets, authors.
Yeah.
Scientists, everything kind of comes together.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen people with opposing views actually do a show one after another in this studio
Yeah.
and help. I'll do the camera for you,
Right.
It-
That's how,
Yeah.
politics used to be like that, where you might
Right.
be bucking horns in the chamber,
Right.
but when you get out, you go and you have lunch together,
Right.
And so we don't have to be conflict-based.
No, it doesn't.
And when we can bring all the different ideas to the table through a cable station,
Yeah.
then we're a better society. for it.
Everybody sees the promised land. They just have a different way to get there, right?
Right.
So why not come together and say, well, let's try to get there together.
Yeah.
We'll let someone who gets stuck in the middle
Yeah,
of
and
the
we
ocean
all make our
somewhere.
little compromises and we
Right.
come forward. So, Mauro, I hope
Well,
that you guys
50%.
get a contract that
Thank
will keep you guys afloat,
Yeah.
and that will show that they value what you bring to the community.
Well, we
because that's
value
a
what
big
you
part.
bring to the community.
Wow.
So I'm here because of Cece.
Oh, no, I'm here because of Mauro.
I want to make sure you do your show because that's really important.
Well, thank you.
Saving lives.
Well, we're trying. So everybody come to Massachusetts for safe technology. We're happy to educate. I'm grateful to Mauro and to Adam and the rest of the team here at WCCA. May you prevail for a long time. And
Thank you.
thank you for
You too.
teaching us about cable.
You too, and thank you, Adam, for the great work.
Yes. Have a tech safe day, everybody. Thank you.